Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hey everybody, it's great to see you. It's time for another Pensado's Place. Our guest is amazing. He's literally toured with Pharrell, Alicia Keys, FarEast Movement. He's done the Oscars, the Super Bowl, the NBA All-Star Game. He's won Grammys. You're going to meet the amazing Jaymz Hardy-Martin III in just a second. But first, we want you to get in on the Aw Sounds Global Giveaway. It is off to a banging start. Aw Sounds is the company that makes headphones for music creators. Our boy Dave actually mixes on them. So we want you to get yourself a pair of these things. We got 4 winners each week. 2 will win the Awstream True Wireless earphones, and 2 will win the Awflex ANC neckband earphones. So let's get to the second week winners. Drum roll, please. From New York, New York, Novi Lux. From Modesto, California, Alonzo Stanchel. Kimberly Castleman wins from Toronto, Canada. And from the UK, Mr. Sam Brown. Congratulations to you all. And now for the rest of you, come on, here's how you enter. Go to pensadosplace.tv/awsounds, fill out the info, and you're good. You got to be 18 years old and up, and it's good all over the globe. We'll announce the winners each week on the show, on our socials, and you can also get the names from Aw Sound Social. So hurry up, get in there. There's a couple weeks more. And if you would, folks, like and subscribe, click notify, sign up for our newsletter, and hit us on our socials so we can tell you what's going on. We got lots of stuff coming up. As I said earlier, this guy is an audio beast. He's done it all. He's got a lot to share with you. We caught up to him recently. Enjoy our conversation with Jaymz Hardy-Martin III. What's up, dude?
What's up, fellas? Glad to be here.
I got to tell you, man, when you look at your credits and it's from in the studio to touring to television to documentaries to the Oscars to NBA weekend to the Super Bowl, man, do you ever have time?
Well, I try to find it. I try to, but I love jumping around. It keeps it exciting.
I will tell you. So let's unpack the live side for a little bit, because one of the things that we've noticed in the years that Dave and I've done the show, the live experience has changed over time. It's obviously changed recently a bunch. And so, just to be specific, if you're doing a live gig, and you've toured with Pharrell and Alicia Keys and different folks, describe a day. So you're pulling up, you got sound check, you got other stuff. Describe what your day is like and what technology you use in preparing for and doing a live gig.
Okay. Outside of the travel logistics and hotel logistics, well, as the crew, we'll get there in the morning when load-in, which is if there's a band, they're loading in a set, stage, backline, things like that, dropping cables. Me personally, not that I'm a white glove, but you have your your sound company or text to lay everything down from the input list and the backline, and what else do you have? Your stage plot that you send in. Mm-hmm. By the time I actually are dialing in and doing some work, it's between noon and 1 or 2, depending if we're on tour or if it's a one-off. And then if I'm doing front of house, I'll tune the PA, couple songs, basically tuning, difference with live and studio is, you walk in the studio, the room's tuned. So, if you play something in there and you step outside or in the car, if it sounds right in there, it's going to be there. But you walk into an arena or amphitheater or something, you need to retune the room so when you're playing stuff here, it comes out right. So you do that, and then we'll sound check maybe an hour later, and then you're kind of hanging out your free time until about showtime. If you're a headline, it could be around 9 o'clock. If you're a support act, it could be 8. And that's
how do you tune the room? Is it use technology?
Yeah. Normally, if I'm on a tour, I'll have a system tech who will actually ping the PA, and they'll use the smart system. And then after that, I just old-fashioned I'll play a couple records that I know and do some frequency adjusting on a graphic EQ.
James, back in the 70s, when I used to try to make, I was on the road a lot, as a guitar player, but I found myself every once in a while having been offered a live gig, you know. So I did live sound like in front of like 9 or 10 people, but the way we had to EQ the PA is you would turn the volume up on the system, and then whatever frequency started feeding back, you'd pull that down, and so you got really good with identifying different frequencies. Then you pull that frequency down, you turn it up more, and that starts feeding back. And when you get 2 or 3 frequencies, that's your tune. And I thought that was kind of a fun way to do it. The technical way is certainly better, though.
We do that on stage to ring out a mic. You'll do that. Put the mic there in front of a couple speakers, wedge, turn it up to the feedback, knock some out. Yeah, it's a little different.
So inside, to go back to the specifics of it, the balance between technology and humanity, where you bring your skills, your ears, your other kinds of stuff to it, is once the technical stuff is done, then you need to reference things that you know how they need to sound in a way that makes sense for the gig and to you and for the act. Was that a fair representation?
Yeah, from front of house, I would say that, because putting up the PA, like I said, the techs that do stuff like that, they use a certain system to figure out how to make sure everyone in the house has hears and feels it right, so there's no dead spot. So all that's technical, but the actual enjoyment in hearing it comes from just listening and then, like I said, tuning up the PA. And then it gets more technical on stage too, or if you're doing playback, where Pro Tools is involved, and that's all just all tech stuff.
So translate this now to doing a television like award show. You've done VH1 Hip Hop Honors, Lexus Versus and Flow, bunch of different things. Are you, at that point in time, are you doing playback and stuff for every act? And does that put a lot of pressure on the rehearsal and making sure your notes and adjustments are all correct? Because when you're doing that kind of stuff, TV, you don't get a second take. Like, you got to get it right, correct?
Yeah, it's actually, I dwell and love the pressure, actually, of that.
You kind of look like you got that smiling assassin kind of face. Like
most of the time I'm just doing playback, but when I get on those type of gigs, as a lot of my friends know, I rather do playback and monitors because it just makes it more interesting. A lot of those award shows you just mentioned, it's a house band, so I'm working direct hand in hand with the MD. So majority of the act, if not all the acts, all playback will come from me, and then all the monitor things will come from me too. So I just like having control of both, because they kind of run hand in hand a little bit. Because if the band and the artist miss their counts or things like that, or I don't hit start at the right time, everything after that doesn't matter. The truck, the audience, the broadcast. So I like to be there and control it. And that's actually when I started using 2 playback machines, because on the road, I didn't really care if something would happen. But when you're live, you can't get fired because your gear messes up. So
right.
Gotta have a backup. Yeah.
What describe your responsibilities for the Super Bowl with Shakira and J-Lo?
Oh, that was fun. I can't lie. There was a lot of hands involved in that. I mean, a lot. I was just a small piece, one of the many engineers on that gig. What I did was, hopefully I'm not giving away too many secrets, but...
give them away.
People probably already know most of the stuff is pre-recorded, except for the lead vocal.
Right.
So we went in and multi-tracked the band. We rehearsed for about 2 weeks out, laid that down, but... There was a house band, but then there was 2 other MDs. So we had the house MD, which was Adam Blackstone and his band. Then you have J-Lo's MD, and you have Shakira's MD. And then they were giving us stuff to put together, and then we make it one cohesive thing, because of time and all that. So I multi-tracked the band, and I was doing monitors, of course, in rehearsal. And then another gentleman, Danny, was doing playback in rehearsal. But once we were all done with all of that, once we get allegedly a good arrangement, we went into the rehearsal hall of the Miami Dolphins, rehearsed there for a week, but handed all the files over once they were mixed to Pablo. And then someone else is doing monitors at the Super Bowl, and someone else is also doing playback at the Super Bowl. So every step there was like a different engineer. As we went along, there was a monitor. I was monitor engineer in rehearsal. Then there was a monitor engineer at the main rehearsal, and then in the Super Bowl there was another guy doing monitors too. And same thing. I think Paul didn't. Sandweiss wasn't in the truck. He didn't get with us until we got to the actual stadium. So
the guests that we've had on before who have done these kinds of things, made us really understand how big the committee process is in this thing.
Yeah.
There are 1,000 opinions and people have to be paid attention to. And I often talk about, from my position in this space, how much you guys, you and Dave and folks like that, have to really master, serving a lot of masters in a way that doesn't compromise the music, but gets to people. It's really an art form, and people don't understand that it's part of your gig. Is that fair to say?
Definitely. Yeah. Engineering is like almost a small part of it. You can be a great engineer, but to be organized and be able to communicate are the other two huge things that come into play there. Because, again, advancing stuff over, being detailed when sending things over, and knowing how to get things over. Because you can't always be over someone's shoulder or be there when someone downloads files, or, like at the Super Bowl, for example, the truck is a half a mile away. The monitors is way over here under the stadium. The artist is over here on stage. So if there's any kind of things confused, sometimes it's just via text, or, it's a quick call. You're not always there in front of the desk. So it can be a lot. So just you got to be a great engineer, don't get me wrong, but you definitely have to be a people person and communicate with people.
It sounds like the complexities of Pensado's place.
Thank you, Herb. Thank you, Herb. I didn't realize I was appreciated that much.
Absolutely.
So today I watched the original 50 Cent, the movie that you worked on. Can you describe how you did the music for that, right?
Yeah, I scored the whole thing. Me and a partner, Storm out of Ohio. We did that over at, I believe, Rick. Does he still own Record Plant?
No, he doesn't. Some of the 1,500 guys got it. Didn't they?
Okay, yeah, we did that whole project over there at Record Plant. That was a lot of fun. I was excited. Again, I got to do everything. At that time I was actually producing too, so I produced and engineered and mixed. So
the current climate we're in. What I wondered is, because at some point along your journey, you did some stuff in Montgomery with the Equal Justice Initiative, right? And it's probably got more relevancy now with what's going on in the purpose of it and being part of it, because there is the social context of what's going on now, but then there's the other really specific business context, and that live touring and so forth is certainly adjusted for the short term, and we don't know where it's going. So are you hearing conversations about how to make virtual concerts better, how to do things like, are you going to do drive-in concerts? Because people are trying to figure out what the live business is now.
What is it gonna be?
Right? Are you hearing those conversations and being part of those conversations?
Definitely. When this first started, in the early month, everyone was talking, but we didn't really know where things were going. And now we're almost 4 months, if not full 4 months in. So it's like, okay, trying to have the conversation again, or trying to get things restarted. I know Live Nation is starting the drive-in concert series. I know, along with myself and other audio engineers and sound companies, they're trying to implement more video and learn more lights, and back before, video and lights is like, they're over there, audio's over here, we were all so separate, but now the way things are changing, it's like people want to come to a one-stop shop to be able to record, stream, and the video has to be as good as the audio. So it's all like coming together, and we're all like more shaking hands and working to help each other out to figure out how to get this revenue going again.
It is it's fascinating in that when you are part of technology, and we've experienced this somewhat, I'm sitting in a spare bedroom shooting the show, and we're all spread all over the place. And what we found is that the audience actually likes it, and we're more efficient, and it's put some efficiencies in our business. So I'm watching, I'm talking to Nam and other folks, I'm watching how the current condition is affecting the opportunity and the technologies. Some of it is bad, there's no question, but there's some silver linings too in terms of how people adjust. And we talked to Netflix and a whole bunch of people. Talisha, co-executive producer of the show, she just had dinner with somebody who they have kits that you now can drop off places, be sanitized, can control, can make sure they're capturing. So I think guys like yourself and us, we're sitting on the edge of change that may also be good and be good for the business and be opportunistic. Is that a view? Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. As this has been going on, I treat the whole situation kind of like 9/11 and the turn of that decade, because studios were huge. Everyone was in the studio because, you had to pay that rate. That was the only way to get something done. I know DA-88s kind of came out, but that wasn't really like a 2-inch tape yet. But as things started turning after 9/11, studios, I think Sony was one of the first big studios to close down in New York. And then on the West Coast, I remember when Enterprise finally started shutting down, and it was like the home studio started coming about, and you would get some great stuff out of it, but then you would get some trash because everyone was kind of like learning on their own. Yeah. And compared to now, it's kind of like the same, where now you're getting the home kits, you're getting the home videos, the home audio, the home stream of people who weren't really streaming. And it was the same thing then, where you're getting the home mixes, the home studios, where people didn't have an SSL. They had like a O2R or a 1680 to do mixes on. And but we had to figure it out. Or even like I got my in the studio because a lot of the older cats didn't use DAW or Pro Tools at the time was the only big thing. So, that was the in. So now it's like the same thing coming over. It's some new technology, or things are overlapping because, 1990, no one ever thought the computer would be in the studio. Or you tell someone, hey, instead of mixing on Neve, we're going to just mix on my Microsoft Word computer, So it's the same thing now. If I told you 2 years ago, hey, we're going to do this interview in your living room or my bedroom, you'd be like, what are you talking about? We have a set here. Why would we do that? Just come to LA. It's nothing. It's a quick flight. But, so it's just knowing these things and embracing them and just getting on them and using the knowledge you have just to revamp.
Absolutely.
On Mary J's You Plus Me song off of her 2017 album, man, the clarity of that mix, and I've worked with Mary. I won a Grammy with Mary, but I love what you did on that mix. There's a clarity and a depth to it that I want to steal from you. Is how to do it. You can explain it to me thoroughly, and then also her vocal chain when you mixed it. I love what you did on that song and that whole album. Really, can you give us a quick breakdown on how you got that vocal sound? Okay. And the clarity in the mix. And the drums sounded amazing. Tell me how you did the drums.
That was actually one I did partially in the box and on the desk. We were at Marvin's room, I believe, which is where we also
John Nettleson. John Nettleson.
Where we also tracked it. It's a great vibe in there. It's very private, seclusive. Yeah. With her, we always she has a particular vocal chain, and I tracked it, so that also helps when you're going to mix, when you track stuff, because you kind of know what you're going with.
Yeah.
And with Mary, been working with her such a long time, live in studio, it's kind of like I already know where I'm going most of the time, from the time we're tracking it to hearing it. And the producer was there. It wasn't just him sending us a 2-track. He was actually there in the studio with me, and same thing with the mix too. Let me think. Exact chain. I know the chain. We of course the C800 on the tracking, CL1B 1073. So, which is almost everything. That's that's her thing, and for me, it actually works very well. I'm trying to remember the exact verb. I know I have.
Let's go to the drums. Well, how did you treat the drums? The drums were pretty special.
SSL.
They had a lot of like the snap had a lot of transients on it, and the snare sound was perfect.
SSL in a old trick I learned. I think it was Dexter Simmons. I like the stressor.
Did you,
And Dex is our
did you just do a Dexter Simmons reference? I love it.
I learned from a lot of those guys over at Larrabee back in the early 2000s. You know, I don't have all that gear, but as much as I can in the box or UAD stuff, or just emulate, like kick and snares. I love APIs and I love distressors to get like smack or sometimes a little distortion, depending, you know, how the song is. Two of my favorite things to use on drums.
Do you have a preference for if you're working at a studio with a console? Is that your automatic preference, or do you try to do a hybrid version and pick the best of the digital world and the best of what the studio has to offer with the analog gear? Or do you not even think about it? You just whatever works.
A little bit of both. And some I'll be 100% honest. I can't always, like, sometimes you just in the box will work. It because I've worked with so many different people. It varies on the producer how well. Because sometimes you get stuff where the producer actually really spent time on drums and they sound pretty good or really good, and you don't want to tear it up too much to do what you do to mix. You know, like, okay, I always put this on there, I put that on there, so I don't want to ruin that. But then other times you get stuff where you're like, okay, this really isn't gonna work. How can I improve it without compromising what the producer was looking for? Which is why I like stuff like APIs and distressors and stuff. I really like a lot. Excuse me, because you know you'll get stuff sometimes and they'll have like 2, 3, 4 kicks on there, and it's like that wasn't really what you needed. It was just take this one and da 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 da, boom. There you go. Is that what you're trying to get? You know, and it's a lot cleaner, a lot more space in your low end. And the same thing with the snare. Oh, this one's for the high, this one's for the low. It's like, well, you just a quick notch here with an API or something, or you know, or slow attack. If you're trying to get it to smack a little more, and there you go. We can mute these two, and they don't know any different. They know it sounds great.
Well, you know, it's an interesting point you're making there that you and Dave and other folks do that people sometimes, I don't think, particularly with so much technology available, they don't understand that sometimes you get addition by subtraction. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's the small thing, and it's utilizing your ears and your gut and all that kind of stuff, and not just technology, and then knowing that this little move will make such a big difference and get you to the goal. You know, that's the art of what you do and what you're able to do. How does somebody who wants to be you, what advice do you give them to try to become that? Where do they start? Is it education? Is it how do they begin the process? They get underneath somebody? Is it hands-on experience? What advice would you give?
Education, obviously, that's with anything, and then it's a team. It's a team. That's really how I think I've progressed. 22 years now doing this. Amazing. From the different fields. It's just a team. Whether if you're great, and you have to know what you're great at and what you're not great at, and be honest with yourself. You know, because it's like, again, everyone's doing video, audio, editing, lights, but are you great at all of them? What are you really great at? And then find, if it's audio, then find a great lighting guy, or the same thing. You know, with all these different aspects. If you're a great producer, find some great writers. You know, if you're a great engineer, then find some great producers. And if you find people above, below, around in your with the same goal, same mindset, you guys will bring each other up and keep moving forward.
Was Berkeley the place for you that because you went in there as a trumpeter?
Yeah. Don't remind me.
And you know, we were going to ask you to play some, but we decided Carl said don't do it. But in there's where you made your transition to finding your love. Did a good school allow you to find that space and get the information that you need to make the decision?
For me, it did, because I'm a, how do you call it, like a school type learner. You know, like I can sit on YouTube and just watch tutorials and watch some type of education thing and pick it up and learn it, because I that's just how I function. I know that doesn't work for everyone, and that got me in the door of, okay, I'm a professional. Because, like you said, I played trumpet. Where I came from, I was one of the best, but I was an amateur trumpet player. It was a hobby. It was something I liked, whatever. As soon as you get to Berkeley, you're immediately compared to the Roy Hargroves and all these other people. So it's like, okay, it's time to, here's the next level. Where are you? You know, so that definitely worked for me. And I have a lot of friendships from Berkeley that are still going on. But it was once I got back to LA in working Enterprise, Larrabee, Skip Sailors, American, just hanging out in all of those studios. There was relationships from that just grew.
I'm going to give you a fun Pensado fact, and Dave, then I'll let you jump in. Well, first of all, let's give a shout out to Carl.
Absolutely.
Was,
great guy.
Great guy. Passionate, cares about it, and we're there to support him. So shout out there. And you were at the place at Skip Sailor where Dave and I actually met, and this whole journey started 100 years ago. I think it was before they had just discovered electricity. And, but the point that I'm making is that you sometimes build yourself and your career on the shoulders of others before you, and you end up in either iconic studios or you meet people that or now it's online, and we hear it from guests that we have. That network relationship and thirst for knowledge and reaching out and connecting, that never goes away, right? That's always a good tool to have. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you have to network. I mean, your whole life. I mean, we learned that in school, even though in school and junior high and high school it was like cliques or whatever, but it was still a network of friends. And once you get into the business, it's the same thing. And most of the time, if it's genuine, the things will keep growing and growing, and people remember you, call you, stay connected, and you build friendships. And like again, 10, 50, when you guys met, you didn't think you'd be doing a Pensado place hosting the show.
Ever.
Relationships and friendships, they just bring you all sorts of ways, and you have no idea, and it always comes out to something good or something unexpected. But if you're with good people, you always enjoy it.
Yep.
What would you think? Sometimes I get a little jealous of my friends that go to Berkeley. I just had an assistant who went out on his own, Jaime Escalera, that went there. And it seems like the Berkeley guys and graduates, one of the main advantages of a school like that is the network that you have when you leave. And it's a very, very tight support group. What would you say was the biggest benefit from Berkeley, and what would be the least happy thing that you were about Berkeley? Pro, con.
Okay. Let's see. I think the hands-on experience. We had SSLs. We had O2Rs. we had one Pro Tools rig which was on a cart that you had to rent out. Most people didn't touch. It wasn't in there. It was with the 777s back then. It was like the Pro Tools just came out. So the hands-on. I mean, I still remember feeling one of my Mix 101 finals, because I learned that whenever there's a problem, it's in the master section. When you can't get signal or something's going on, that's the key. I failed that, and I learned that then. Those type of experience, and having teachers that were in the real world experiencing, like Carl's, like people like that who aren't just telling you because they read it in a book. They actually experience it, so they let you know what to expect when you go out there. When you get back to LA, when you get in the studio, what's a good income starting rate so you don't cut yourself short, which, coming out of high school, getting into it, I wasn't thinking about the income. I was thinking about what I want to do as a job that won't feel like a job. And then as I get further along, they tell you, okay, well, you want to start like this, things like that. So all of that knowledge you soak up. I used to go to the office hours every week with the teachers, even if I didn't have anything to talk about, even just a small talk like this, because I just wanted to pick the brains of the people that had the more experience. Obviously, I didn't go to other schools, so I don't know how open and how much knowledge you can grab in. But I know at Berkeley, that was huge. And being in a city like Boston, where there's a lot of other colleges and young people moving into a city, it was there's a lot to absorb, and you're not like the only one there.
The stimulation, I think we were at Isotope and spoke, and just the stimulation inside Boston and Cambridge and all that kind of stuff. There's just stuff that gets your brain pumping, man, nonstop. I love that energy. But the other thing that I think is important for the audience that you spoke to, that I think, we've learned from, and that we see in everybody who is, as great as you are at what you do, is that most people who are at a really high level stay curious. right?
Absolutely.
You're still searching for hunger. You're still searching for knowledge. You're connecting with other people. Like the greats don't settle. It's like, what's next? I want to know, and I need to find out. I need to stay in touch. I think that's an attribute that's not talked about enough to people. Like I think sometimes folks think, I got this master and I got this technology. I know what sound I like. I'm good, and that's not it, is it?
You have to. I tell my friends all the time, if every week, every day, you're not slapping yourself because you're like, man, I wish I knew this yesterday. you're not getting anywhere in life. Even if it's effects, plugins, reverbs. Like I was late learning about Procasti. Before that I had it wasn't a Procasti on the Mary record. I was using Manny's verbs, which are, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, and I think H reverb I like to play with a lot. But then I learned about Procasti. It's my new favorite thing. I'm like, all the reverbs I had before are trash. This is my, you never thought you'd replace a 480, but when I heard that, I was like, okay, it's a whole new level, So it's like that with the learning process in life, because as soon as you think you know enough or know everything, there's going to be something to, one up you. And you just keep growing, you go 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way to the end. You'll be on your deathbed, like, oh man, I didn't know that. I'm gonna use that next life.
Yeah. This plugin could have saved my life. Damn. Now, are you a sports fan?
Yeah. I'm a huge New Englander. Okay,
cool. So Dave is a pitcher of some renown with batter's box, and so you're a Red Sox guy.
Of course.
Okay. Dave's from the South, so I don't know if it's.
We do spring training in Florida.
South Florida is not the South. South Florida is the North Caribbean.
Oh, it definitely is.
That time like this. I got the accent. That's all I got.
Yeah, that month in Miami was like living in Cuba.
All right,
everything north of Tampa is South Georgia. So that's just
all right, so, let's tee up batter's box, sir.
I have good news and bad news for you, James. I assembled an all-star list of categories for batter's box, and so I've got 1 million of them. And so you're gonna be the first greatest hits batter's box batter.
A lot of pressure.
Hey, it's just like a live gig.
Okay.
Well, sort of alive, I don't know how much time I got left. Limiter.
Waves, the L3 multi-maximizer and ultra maximizer.
Loops.
Is it loops?
Loops, yeah.
Oh, loops. Yeah. Mic DSP, the multi-band. It's one of the old but goods. Fab Filter has one now, but I kind of like the Mic DSP one.
Favorite live sound or studio sound?
Favorite gig would probably be Mary. That's one of the few gigs that's always been like family.
As far as your production, major key or minor key?
Definitely minor.
Your favorite synth?
SC1. It's a bass, but it's West Coast.
Stereo bus.
The SSL ENG. The J was great, but the ENG's classic.
Yeah. Good answer. Preamps.
Neves. All day, 1073 to 1080. I always get them backwards.
The most annoying frequency you deal with?
If you're live, it's probably 80 hertz because it's always, in the room humming or something. But if you want to be annoyed, 2.5, 3.15.
Yeah. And and yeah, the girlfriend range. So MS, middle side.
Middle side. That always takes me back to Berkeley tracking. Get that spread. I know there's a lot of plugins now that do it, but it's kind of, it reminds me of like reverse reverb. I'm used to flipping the tape over, doing that, flipping it back. But now you can just throw in a plugin. The same thing with MS. I always setting up the mics, get like a guitar, get that width going, things like that. Some kind of spread a piano sometimes.
And what's the least expensive piece of equipment that you used on a mix or a live gig?
Probably, I couldn't get a PCM 42, so it was a TC Electronics, probably the D tap, or was it the D2 tap delay? That's probably
the D2 is a beast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I bought 2 of them for $300. They don't go for much now, but they're incredible.
Yeah,
they're incredible.
I always
great job.
The Lexicon one, or a 2290, but they're too noisy live. So
yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. In your world, Jaymz, you now, as everybody, you can record on the road mobily. You can be in a plane. You can be can you take your world with you and be ready for whatever you need to, wherever you need to be?
All the time, man. A quick fun story. 2006 or 7 on tour with Neo, we recorded his "Make Me Better" vocals in the dressing room with the M-Box 1.
Is that right?
Yeah, before a show. It was either Charlotte or Tampa. I can't remember which city, but it's a hit song. But again, it's not always about the gear. It's the engineering and knowing what you're doing. So
yeah, I mean, it is true. It's just amazing as technology just marches forward, and it's always something stunning. 2 weeks from now, something else will come, and it's about keeping up with it all.
Absolutely. You can't get overwhelmed, because I like to take breaks from looking at the newer plugin or the next plugin, because you'll always be trying to update your system or get this new thing when you forget actually how to do the craft.
Right. Great point. Really great point.
How many plate reverbs do you need?
Yeah, exactly. Before we go, I also wanted to ask you this. You mixed and worked on reimagining Elton John and Bernie Taupin songs, right? Was that an interesting project to work on? Because that music was just so fabulous. And were they remixes or what was on that project?
The Elton John and
your credits are so extensive. You now have forgotten things that you worked on, and I think that's wonderful.
I'll be honest with you, because it's not a pet peeve, I guess, but kind of. I have not a terrible time, but I don't like so much always having my accolades or keeping up with that, because you can walk in the room with someone who's done something with whoever the biggest star is, the opening ceremonies at New Jerusalem in heaven, but if they can't communicate or get what you're getting across, it doesn't matter, and that's kind of I guess I'm always trying to move forward and learn and progress forward with people, with different rooms, different environments. And so if I'm walking on a new gig and this is the artist, I do as much research about that artist and act like I've known that artist for 20 years, even if they've only been out 2 weeks, so I can figure out what they want and how to get my thing across there. Because I can come in and say, I did Mary, I did Neo, I did the Super Bowl, but if I can't get what they want off, they don't care.
Right. And I got to tell you, that is probably the most brilliant answer to the question. I think in terms of people listening and learning and so on and so forth, it goes back to that curiosity thing. You push forward, you make yourself better. You don't, oftentimes we will liken this business to athletics, and like, you got to come to spring training, you got to get in shape, you got to get there, and every condition is not going to be like the last game.
Yeah.
Something new, and you need to be ready and in physical shape and in mental shape to deal with it and score and do something. I got to tell you, man, the way Carl described you, he undersold you.
Appreciate it.
Well, it is, Dave and I are lucky enough that we're been around a lot of talent each week for now going on 11 years. And we've sat with extraordinarily gifted people. And then there's some that shine in a different kind of way than others. And you got all that shine, bro.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on and keep doing what you're doing. And if we bug you and want you to do some more stuff with us, can we do that?
Oh, absolutely, man. Outside of Daddy Daycare, I've got nothing but time. I'm here learning, mixing, again, trying to just be better, cool. ready to get out there.
What a pleasure. Dave, why don't you take us home?
I think what I'm going to do today is kind of review some important points that Herb and Jaymz said and kind of emphasize those again for your career moves. It's very important to have a team or a group of people that are better than you that you can access frequently to get information from them, and don't try to just be a YouTube mixer or a Google mixer, but get information from people that have been part of the process that can help you and sometimes guide you. And then also, one of my favorite things about my childhood was that I was given a curiosity that a lot of people don't have, and that's gotten me through a lot of things in life. And the journey is more important than the destination. Sometimes it's not about being a great mixer. It's about how the pathway that you got to be a great mixer or producer or something. And if you don't enjoy that journey, it makes it really difficult to maintain a career arc towards that destination, because it took me 15 years. I'm sure it takes a lot of people a long time. And then most importantly, if you have an opportunity, be ready. And I think if you review some of those things today in the show, you'll be a little bit ahead of everybody else. We appreciate you so much. Take care. We'll see you soon.